and Facebook. Brought to you this time around by the Kent County Health Department. Before we get started, let me tell you about them. It is the thing about the Kent County Health Department is it's not like I'm selling anything. It's like I'm making the general public aware of the initiatives that are available at their disposal to help them. Women, infant, children. Referring to people that may be underprivileged, they are thought of first in the WIC program. That's not a punchline. That's an important thing to make sure that vulnerable people are fed, are taken care of, and things like that. Kent County Health Department wants to make sure that you have everything at your disposal. If you would like more information to see if you qualify, I want you to call 616-632-7200. March is National Nutrition Month. They've got a team of registered nutritionists, dietitians there to make sure that you have all of your questions answered and, basically keep you fed appropriately. That's what WIC is all about. All right, that number again, 616-632-7200 for the Kent County Health Department. Thank you very much.
I am about to break your nose like I did.
All right, thank you.
And now, here's a guy that proves there is no vaccine against stupidity. It's the Eric Zane Show podcast with your host, Eric Zane.
Thank you, Johnny. Welcome to the Eric Zane Show podcast. My God, here we go. This is the Daily Show. Talking about news, nonsense, and my shenanigans. That's the Eric Zane Show podcast. Got a lot of things to talk about today. Welcome in. It's Friday. I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm thankful every day that I'm even here. Hang on, I got to adjust the camera because I just realized that my fat head is covering Joe Martinez's sign. It's getting out of hand here with the signs when I have to actually thread the needle on the camera angle to make sure. Holy shit. Hang on a quick second. I think that's going to do it. Oh, God. I'm such a dumbass. I don't even know what's up. Oh, well, he's going to have to live with it. Looks good to me. All right, here's what's going on. Got a lot of things to talk about. I want to get to this right away. I kind of knew this was going to happen, but I drew a bunch of names yesterday for the West Michigan Ironman tickets. Of the 5 names I drew, I reached out to them all. 2 immediately got back to me. 3 have not. They are Chris Ogdahl, Andrew Postma, and Jonathan Pennick. I reached out to these folks like, hey, you won the tickets. I'll leave them for you at will call. I have not heard back. I even went so far as to, like, on Facebook Messenger, there's a little, like, a phone icon and a camera. I, like, pressed it, tried to make, like, a phone call through Facebook to reach out to them. Look, the tickets are there. It's crazy. So I have 2 of the pair accounted for. 3 of the pair are, I held up 4 fingers. 3 of the pair are not accounted for. I'm waiting to hear back. Now, I would hate for them to go to waste. But I'm kind of screwed because if I draw another name out, what happens if these 3 then come back and say, oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for the tickets. So I think the next time we do this, I've got to put some stipulations on here that if I don't hear back from you by the end of the day, you're out. Now, I didn't say that this time, but learning curve, you know? So, all right, still waiting to hear back from Chris, Andrew, and Jonathan. If anybody knows Chris Ogdahl, Andrew Postma, or Jonathan Pennick, will you please text those stupid assholes and say Zane is trying to reach you to give you instructions about your tickets that you tried to win for the West Michigan Ironman. Can't stress this enough. when I give these tickets away and it says like to be in the drawing, if you like it, make sure you want to go. Make sure you're going to be paying attention, because if you like it and then forget about it, well, what good is that? Yesterday was another big ticket item to buy at the Eric Zane Show podcast household. What was it? Well, another vet bill. Believe me, I'm not complaining. Daisy and O'Neill needed a checkup because, as it goes, you cannot just I wanted to re-up their heartworm pills that you buy online. You know, like the once-a-month chewables that you give them. And as you know, I am a huge proponent for, if you have a dog or a cat, making sure that they're on the heartworm medication. Just because Benny, the one-eyed wonder dog, I had to treat that dog for a heartworm. That's something I had never experienced before. That's a 9-month process and expensive, and it can kill the dog. So make sure you give your dog the heartworm prevention. That's a public service announcement from the Eric Zane Show podcast. So, but you can't, I usually go on to like Chewy.com and order them, and then Chewy contacts the vet and says, is this dog okay to get the prescription? Yes. Okay, great. And then they send you the meds, and it's a lot cheaper on Chewy than buying it from the vet, and they know that. But I try to buy the meds, and they go, no, you need a checkup. You got to get your yearly. Ah, shit. So they wouldn't sell them to me. So yesterday was a day. Now, I know this is going to be an expensive thing because it's 2 dogs. They do the blood work. They do all of this. And then it dawns on me 15 minutes before I'm getting ready to leave that in order to determine if the dog has heartworm, they need a stool sample. And I'm like, oh, God, I forgot to put that in my phone as a reminder that I need literally a bag of poo. And, I mean, I've done this a million times. The dog goes number 2. You clean it up on the neighbors. I always make the dogs go on the neighbor's property. And then, it's because I'm taking them for a walk. It's not like I'm trying to screw my neighbor over. But, and then I pick it up every single time, and then I'll give them the bags of poo when I drop the dogs off, and I sit in the waiting room. But I'm like, oh, no, I forgot. The reason why I'm doing this is because to determine whether or not they have heartworm, to make sure that they're okay for the medicine. The one thing I need, a bag of poo, which I always have thousands of laying around in the not like laying around the house, but in the garbage can. And I cannot believe I forgot this. I'm like, oh, my God, Jesus. I take the dogs for a walk. I'm like, okay, you got like 10 minutes. Make magic happen. Go poo. And, of course, O'Neill, the one time he doesn't go. Daisy, no, she doesn't go either. Oh, crap. This is the worst. Something. Well, I could make just, maybe if they have like a breathalyzer device to do it, they can like make O'Neill, give O'Neill a poop breathalyzer, because he consumes as much through his mouth. There goes the banana out the window, as does flies out of his butthole. That was stupid. I call up the vet while I'm walking the dogs. And I go, yeah, hey, this is Eric Zaitunian. And, I'm coming by for a checkup for the dogs. And the one thing I need is a poop sample. And, it's not working out. She laughs. And she goes, okay, well, we'll try to do what we can, and then if not, we'll just come up with a plan B. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Now, I'm not sure how they do it. I mean, I have an idea, but they were able to determine a good outcome through whatever they do to the dogs to get the test. And the only thing I can determine is they, like, take a pencil and, like, stick it up the dog's butt and get what they need. Something to that effect, because they go, all right, the heartworm test was negative. We can give you the medicine now. And I'm like, oh, and I didn't want to ask, how did you figure that out? But they did figure it out. Good freaking news. They said, we have a new product that we want to sell you. I go, what is it? I go, well, it's heartworm preventative medicine, but it's a shot, and it's once a year. And I go, what? I go, well, yeah, because I've been giving the dog this, like, chewable thing once a month, and you got to put the reminder in your phone, and I've got 4 dogs, so that it lends to confusion sometimes because I'm kind of dumb. They go, nope, you don't have to worry about that. We'll just give O'Neill, we'll give Daisy a shot. And the cost of it actually is cheaper than a year's worth of heartworm medicine. And I go, oh, my God. Like the chewables. Yes, sign me up. So that's a new thing. I go, what do you mean new thing? They go, well, it's been in Europe for years. And we've been hesitant to, use it here. And I go, well, why? And they go, well, we wanted to make sure that the dog that there's no side effects. And I go, okay, so what does that even mean? They go, well, 1 in 1, 2, 3 of 10,000 dogs will have an adverse reaction to the medicine. Now, you would think that I would have asked, what is the adverse reaction to the medicine? But no. I just went, oh, yeah, sounds good. Those are good odds. Do it. And I probably would have done it in the first place, but it just dawned on me. I never did find out the adverse reaction. Now, had he said the dog will drop dead, there's no way, right? He says we give the dog the shot, and then we have to observe her and him for 15 minutes. So you just kind of sit in the waiting room and have a cup of coffee. All right, sounds good. So then I'm like, oh man, right now I'm sitting here. Can you imagine if they walked out while I'm drinking my coffee and they said, well, there was an adverse reaction. You're going home with no dogs. What? I should probably get that information. But the dogs are fine. To the tune of $750. That's right. Every single month. I've got a $700 or $800 vet bill. I might as well just budget for it at this point. Jesus. All right, I covered the Ironman drawing. I covered the vet stool sample saga. I had an interview yesterday with 16-year NHL veteran Mike Knuble. He's from Grand Rapids, here, East Grand Rapids, actually. He's a native of Toronto, Canada, but he moved to the U.S. And when he was young. And some of you may not have any interest in hockey, but this was a terrifically fun interview. Knuble is great. His claim, well, I shouldn't say claim to fame because he scored like 250 goals in the NHL, played for 16 years for 5 teams, including the Red Wings. When he left Michigan, he was a Detroit Red Wings property, and his very first game in the NHL was that game where Darren McCarty punched Claude Lemieux in the face. I think that was March 26, 1997. Which is coming up on the anniversary of that again. And that was Mike Knuble's first game in the NHL. Unbelievable. Went on to have a great career. And Mike is a really, really fun guy to talk to. I tell you what, when it comes to interviewing people, the best thing you want the guy who you ask him a question and then he goes off on like a tangent or a story and with, fills it in with color. And he's that guy. I spent like half an hour talking to him. He was fantastic. Mike Knuble, that is available. Ron Van Timmeren is coming to this studio today. Ron, myself, and Mean Gene have been hit or miss on getting together. Last week was weird because we had to cancel at the last minute because of a drive basketball game. And this week was screwy too, so I go, well, can you come to the house? And he goes, yeah, hey, Eric, yeah, hey, absolutely. So, okay, Ron's going to be here at the house. And so today at 11 a.m., it'll be Ron and me doing the Talking Movies podcast, brought to you by Riverbend Body Shop. Now, this house is a disaster right now. There is some significant mess action going on here. First of all, I have to close the door to the bedroom that is just off of the front, the hallway by the front door, because it smells like a combination of stale pee, cat pee, and nature's miracle. As you know, my effort to somewhat soften that horrible biohazard type smell has resulted in ambitious pouring of that cleaning agent onto the carpet. That has resulted in it's kind of like the smell right now when you go to a 1970s nursing home, 1980s nursing home, where you right away detect the smell of a diaper and Lysol cleaning product, where they're trying to cover it up, but it's burned into the linoleum and the walls. That's what that room smells like. So I must make sure to close that door. And then there's the enormous task of mess relocation, which is a term I just love, given to me by Megan from Irvine's Auto Repair. And that is basically scooping everything up that is a mess and throwing it into one particular room. And there's a lot of it today. I think I'll be taking a pile of dishes that are in the sink and putting them into a closet. Not to mention my bedroom is a complete catastrophe because of Jacqueline living there. Ah, God. And Ron's going to be here at 11. Now, I scheduled it at that time. That's no problem because I'll be I'll be done with this podcast. And then I'll put the Patreon in a holding pattern and do the Patreon after, which will no doubt result in my good pal Kenny from Nashville, who I just had a conversation with yesterday on the phone. Happy birthday to you yesterday, Kenny. Which will no doubt result in Kenny saying, finally, on the Patreon. Yeah, it was Kenny's birthday. So I found that out after I talked to him on the telephone. We had to share some information with each other. And then I found out, oh, my God, it's your birthday, buddy. Kenny needs a lot of love. I'll tell you what, man, it's been a year for that guy. But he's doing okay. I'm confident good things are on the horizon. Saw a story in the news this morning about Tennessee is trying to get after the rebuilding. They have located everyone who was missing, if you recall. And I do believe that the fatalities on that awful, awful night numbered 24. Now the task of rebuilding. They had a local benefit with, I think, a lot of the usual suspects in the country music industry were there. You know, you like call in and make a pledge, one of those deals. They whipped that up pretty quickly. And I think the president, in fact, I know the president is on the way to tour the area, and that results usually in no doubt a big chunk of money for disaster relief to help rebuild and get those people back on their feet. Horrible, horrible thing. All right. Couple more things to talk about. First of all, coronavirus. I don't have a lot to talk about. I don't want to beat a dead horse on the same old thing, but there is this story about another cruise ship that is just massive off of the coast of San Francisco. And they determined just before it was supposed to dock at the pier and everybody to disembark that cruise ship is linked to cases. So they said, hold on, stay in the bay. Uh-oh. So this is ongoing. These people on this ship might have to stay there for about another 14 days while they figure out if anybody does get sick. They're kind of like quarantined, if you will, this massive ship. This is the craziest dynamic. You know, you hear about people getting sick on ships all the time, but the fact that it's surrounding this whole coronavirus story, which may have had something to do with the outbreak. In fact, I know it did. Now what they're doing is they're dropping test kits via helicopter to the ship. Like, you know, you're seeing like a Coast Guard rescue mission where they lower these kits. And there aren't a lot of those kits available in the world today. There's like 75,000 of them. We don't yet have the number of kits to meet the demand. But they're working on it. So hopefully that will turn. Let's see. I wrote the words yesterday, and I reached out to John from Jennison to the parody song sung to My Sharona. My own version is My Corona, and it's pretty ridiculous that this is happening. A parody song has been written, and we should be able to record it at some time next week. John tried to put his influence on the song, and he was very, very helpful with lyrics. However, I'm like Paul McCartney when it comes to it. I'm very, very protective of it. So it has to jive 100% with me. As you know, I'm a great songwriter. And I want to make sure that the lyrics are exactly as I want them to be. I'm painstakingly reviewing the diarrhea and throwing up references and the dying references on the song. John had the line from the old limerick, some people say it's good on toast, but I think that it's just gross. No, I don't think I'm going to go with that one, John. There are some more ridiculous elements to it. Hopefully we will be able to record sometime next week. I've never heard John sing. I'm anxious to hear that guy sing. Okay. Politically, the governor of the great state of Michigan has endorsed Joe Biden. Now, there's a lot of girl power involved with this story. First of all, I just saw a picture of Governor Whitmer, and all the anger I have towards her for the ridiculous way she's running the state as a Democrat is now fading because I just saw yet another fantastic picture of her. Absolutely pretty as a picture. Now, as soon as she tries to govern, I'm not going to like that. So I'll probably be all pissed off all over again. But she has endorsed Joe Biden. The Michigan primary is Tuesday, I believe. I'm probably getting that wrong. But Bernie Sanders is in Michigan today. He's actually coming to campaign. I tell you what, Michigan, I won the primary 4 years ago over Hillary Clinton. It's the one thing I did right when I was unknowingly being backstabbed by the Democratic Party. I won Michigan. Despite that, I'm going to win again. I'm going to win the great state of Michigan again. Medicare for all, tampons for all. Sanders is coming to Michigan. In fact, he'll be in Grand Rapids on Sunday. Elizabeth Warren is out. She's another candidate who I like. I actually like all of these people. I like Sanders. I like Biden. I liked Warren. I liked Buttigieg. But you know, obviously, I'm not going to vote for them. I've made that very clear. But Warren, her endorsement is important. Who is she going to endorse? We need to look no further than the debate where Sanders called her a liar on national TV. Remember that? That was quite a moment. That was when she walked up to him and she was still mic'd and she said, "Did you just call me a liar on national TV?" We'll talk about it later. Okay, that might come back to bite him in the ass. And it's interesting because she has the type of progressive mindset much further left, similar to Bernie Sanders. Oops. O'Neill just knocked my heater over. Easy, big fella. Similar mindset to Bernie Sanders, but so she doesn't really align with Biden on the political spectrum. But Sanders called her a liar on national TV, and she's got the power. If she endorses Biden, oh my God, Sanders gonna be. They're all ganging up against me. They're all the fat cats here. Elizabeth Warren, I knew it. That was the reason why I called her a liar. I'm anxious to see who she sides with, if anyone at all. Contrary to popular belief, Barack Obama has not endorsed anybody. And that's huge. When he does endorse someone, and he will, probably when the candidate is picked. The thing is, though, if you turn on the TV, every candidate seems to have support from Barack Obama. They've all taken clips from him over the years that he's spoken where he's said nice things about whomever, and they've the super PACs are throwing it into ads. So if you're a dumb voter like I am not, as you know, and you see that, and you might be like, oh, Barack Obama endorsed Joe Biden. That's not true at all. Oh my God! Barack Obama is saying "feel the burn." He's thrown his endorsement behind Bernie Sanders. That's not true. Oh my God! Barack Obama is supporting President Trump. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that there actually was a commercial that used something that Barack Obama said. I think it might have been from one of his books on tapes, because he actually read his own books that he wrote, or they were spoken word. I think he won a Grammy for them. It was one of our questions in Smarter Than a Former Drug Dealer Trivia. Some super PAC actually used Barack Obama's voice to paint a picture that doesn't exist, frame it in a weird way. So, I mean, that's typical politics as usual. It was horrible. But that's where we sit. So a lot of things are bubbling under right now as we get started on the Eric Zane Show podcast. My God. All of that, all of those little bits and nooks and crannies and little stories and things going on have made up the Eric Zane Show podcast open. That's the open. And it's brought to you by Irvine's Auto Repair Grand Rapids Hybrid. Oh, my gosh, just an absolute bright beacon of love and hope and awesomeness for 25 years as they have repaired your cars, West Michigan. If you love this podcast, please throw your support, throw your endorsement behind Irvine's Auto Repair Grand Rapids Hybrid. The Google reviews don't lie, and those are customers that have said that. You can see them at irvines.com. They don't repair all cars. You can forget that Volkswagen nonsense. But if you have a domestic car, check. Asian vehicle, check. A BMW, check. A Mini, or if you're like Boring Dean, a fleet of Mercedes-Benz vehicles, you take them to Irvine's. Open 5 days a week. A couple of days off so that the techs can, revive themselves. Slay poon, party hard. They're on 44th Street, just east of 131. A couple blocks over, 3 blocks over, there's a street called Stafford. That's where they are. God bless, I don't know why I struggle with those words. God bless TC Paintball. I just spoke with local legend Rick Steinbach. He just signed up for an annual. What does that mean? Well, that means he's committed to the show for the next year. And that, is terrific. That makes the Eric Zane Show household world spin perfectly because of great sponsors like Rick. Thank you. Schedule a party at TC Paintball for your work, team building, for the kids, for the adults, weekend warriors. Rick is working hard setting up the outdoor paintball venue right now as we speak. I've seen pictures of the turf being laid bit by bit. That will be ready very, very soon. 616-249-8227. They open at 11 a.m. today. They have a massive pro shop, all the stuff you need, and it's beautiful because if you're into paintball, you want to try the gun out. Don't buy it online. Go there, pick the one you want out, and go use it. Try it out. Yeah, I like this one. Good. Buy it, man. This is one thing you should never buy online, this type of gear, because you don't want to get it and then have to use it, and then you use it, and it's not what you want. 616-249-8227 and paintball war number. God, I forget the numbers now. Is it 8? Is it 8 or 9? Well, anyway, I've been telling you about the one coming up on April 9th. The Spring Break Offensive is what we're calling it. Now, we're just over a month away from that, and I have 0 of you RSVPing. Now, I know many of you are going to play, but I would sure like, hint, hint, an idea of who is going to participate. It is a daytime event, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pizza party beforehand, and it is going to be awesome. Kids are on spring break. That's why we're calling it the Spring Break Offensive. All right. This is an update on a story about a guy that I have talked about before. Now, if you don't live in the great state of Michigan, you might be like, what's going on? But I've talked about this before, so I can get you up to date on it if you've been following this podcast for any amount of time. And I think you can just like supplant this guy's name for any other idiot that's done stupid stuff like this before. I found out about a state representative by the name of Peter Lucido some time ago when Bleeding Heart Brian pointed me in the right direction of this scumbag. He is a state representative in the 8th District of Michigan, which represents a community known as Shelby Township, which is where my dad lives. This guy's the representative for my dad, and Mount Clemens, Michigan. And so there's a lot of people he's representing in the state. Republican dude. And so, all right, he's doing his job, and he is approached by a rookie reporter, 22-year-old young lady, whatever, I forget her age. And she's talking politics on the outside of the chamber and just has a question about whatever. And Lucido is surrounded by a bunch of high schoolers from a local high school named De La Salle. And if you remember, the dude he objectified her horribly and like looks her up and down. He's in his 50s. She's a young lady. And oh, God. And then she asks like a legit question. And he goes, boy, have you ever heard of De La Salle? And all the kids are like starting to snicker, all the high schoolers, and she's like, no. And she goes, oh, you haven't heard of that? Oh man, you could have a lot of fun with these guys right here, and I bet they'd have a lot of fun with you. Well, she kind of called him out on that, and very bravely, and then he like put her in her place, all shitty, like got all shitty with her. Well, she ends up writing a story about it and blows a whistle on this piece of shit, and it blows up. And then this one lady who is another senator, or representative, I should say, member of Congress in Michigan, she sees that. This is how it works, man. We've seen this a million times. Well, she feels empowered because the young reporter blew the whistle. So she said, you know what? I should have said something some time ago, but this cocksucker did this to me too. He held on, he like touched me and held on to me way too long, and he said nasty shit to me. So fuck this guy. So that opens up Pandora's box, and he's also like on a state committee for like, I don't know, or I forget the name of the committee, but it has something to do with shit like this. So it's way wrong. All right. This guy's a dirty bastard. And so the state opened up an investigation, and they just came up with their findings. That is not so great for this guy. Check it out.
First at 6, Shelby Township State Senator Peter Lucido is
like, what happened? What in the world could have gone wrong? I have an explanation. Because of there was this sound that I hear in my headphones, and you might be able to hear it when the podcast is going on. And you'll see, reach for this and move this device, and that's because I'm trying to get it to stop. No big deal. Well, while I was doing that, a portion of my thumb touched the screen, which then made it go dark, or something happened, and I hit a button, and the device goes dark. When the device goes dark, it stops talking to you, the camera. Well, podcast over, but we all know it's not over. Sorry. Unbelievable. The good news, I didn't have a temper tantrum. Let's pick this up. Let's go back to where we were. This is the news story about this Peter Lucido dude. All right, as you were, continue.
First at 6, Shelby Township State Senate.
Hold on. Now we can go.
First at 6, Shelby Township State Senator Peter Lucido is facing the fallout of sexual harassment allegations. Good evening to you. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Dave Llewellyn. Thank you for joining us. The investigation is over tonight, and 7 Action News reporter Simon Shakett tells us the conclusion has consequences.
Inappropriate workplace behavior. That's how the Michigan Senate Majority Leader is referring to conduct by Republican State Senator Peter Lucido, following what he calls a thorough and exhaustive investigation. Lucido is also being removed from chairing the Michigan Senate Advice and Consent Committee and being made to undergo more training after allegations surfaced that he made inappropriate comments towards State Senator Mallory McMorrow, as well as a female news reporter in front of a group of high school boys.
Whenever they say, yeah, you need sensitivity training, that always makes me cringe. As if training is going to take out the asshole from the individual. I mean, come on. The dude's just a fucking moron. He doesn't need training. He needs something a little bit more. He's always going to be this way. You just say, you know what? Don't worry about the training. Just if you fuck up again, you're out. Okay? Or maybe just take him out right now.
According to records just released, an investigation involving more than 30 interviews found accusers' claims of sexist comments by Senator Lucido to be, quote, credible. The Michigan Senate says since receiving their findings on March 2nd, they've repeatedly acknowledged their intent to be transparent by releasing those findings publicly.
I can't wait to see that.
Furthermore, findings of that report say Lucido's conduct, quote, demonstrates an unfortunate pattern of behavior that requires little to no interpretation to be understood as inappropriate workplace behavior. The Senate now plans to announce a bipartisan work group in the next few weeks to review current policies and make suggestions for improvement. Today, the office of Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey declining to do an interview with us, instead referring us to their statement. We've also reached out to Senator Lucido, who represents the 8th District, including Mount Clemens, Shelby Township, and St. Clair Shores. But so far, he's not responded to a request for comment. From Macomb County, Simon Shakett, 7 Action News.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't know what we'd expect to hear from this guy. He probably doesn't. He probably hasn't changed. He's probably going to continue to be, completely headstrong about I didn't do anything. And to me, it makes me cringe that people do this. I honestly, I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to be that forward. And if you have ever done that, like this guy Peter Lucido, for example, the amount of times that 30 people spoke out about him. That means he's said something horrible to every single one of those, or they've heard it. How often has he done that with favorable results? And what are favorable results? Because unless a woman, let's say I did that, and unless if every single time I did it, a woman was like, oh, that's so great. Keep it up. I really love it when you do that. And like maybe touch my crank or something like that. Then that's a rewarding experience. You're like, hey, I'm going to keep doing that. But I highly doubt that. I'm sure that they all felt terrible and had funny looks on their faces and didn't say anything and got away from him and maybe even said something terrible back to him because they were so upset. Yet he would continue to do that. And that to me is the thing that strikes me as how do you operate that way? Absolutely ridiculous. I cannot wait until I can read the quotes from those people when whoever publishes them, the state, about what this guy said. I would love to hear that. Ultimately, this will probably result in him having a harder time getting reelected. Now, because to me, this trumps politics. Some people would be like, I would rather have, frankly, a Democrat who is completely opposed to anything. If I lived where my dad lived and Peter Lucido was my representative, and in the next election, it's him and a Democrat, there's no way in hell I'm going to vote for Peter Lucido. I'm going to vote for the Democrat because all of that shit trumps his politics. He's a bad human being. If I have a bad human being who is locked in step with me, with what I believe politically, I don't want that guy in office. I can promise you, Bleeding Heart Brian is going to say, well, then why do you like Trump? Shut up. I didn't start a fight with you. All right. Okay. You know the band Journey, Don't Stop Believin', sold out arenas. Somehow this band has managed to continue on with their careers. Hang on, I got to enter my password into this. Everything's trying to betray me today in terms of what I'm doing on this podcast. Hold on. Sorry, folks. One-man show. Okay. Got it. There's that noise again. Don't touch that. Don't touch your device. It'll fade. Stop it. The band Journey has been, they've made a fortune with kind of like the reincarnated version of the band. Now, to me, there's no way in hell I give a shit about Journey. They were lucky enough to find a guy who sounds just like Steve Perry, the lead singer. And, it's a little weird. He doesn't look anything like Steve Perry because he's from the Philippines. Filipino dude became the lead singer of the band. And everybody has a good time. He sounds just like him. For me, I've never been a fan of when a band does this. It's kind of like you have a cover band at that point, especially the lead singer. I can live with other band members leaving, okay? But if Aerosmith loses Steven Tyler, there was a time when that happened. There was a dude who filled in, and he sucked. Van Halen, you remember? Okay, they got away with it with Sammy Hagar. They did not get away with it when they brought in the dude from Extreme that nobody cared about. So there are exceptions. Bon Scott died. Brian Johnson replaced him. They have their own string of hits. There are exceptions. But for the most part, I can't stand it if the wrong guy is in there singing for the band. But this really doesn't have anything to do with that. But the leader of the band is a guy who's been with them forever, Neil Shaw. The drummer and the bass player for the band were like, we think we want to retire. And he's like, really? Yeah. So the rhythm section for the group wants to check out. Well, come to find out that they were trying to establish a legal coup d'etat to make it so while they're retired, a large percentage of the money from touring from that step forward would still go into their pockets, even though they're not in the band anymore. That's a problem. Neil Sean says that they tried to hijack the group name in a scheme that landed them all in court. Sean and founding keyboard player Jonathan Cain are suing their longtime bassist Russ Valerie and drummer Steve Smith, claiming they tried to take control of the band's corporation that is known as Nightmare Productions. According to the lawsuit, Russ and Steve allegedly thought the move would give them access to the Journey name, thereby allowing them to make millions for themselves after retiring. So they retired, like, yeah, we'll smell you later, and then hoping that, no one would notice. Is that what it was? The article goes on to say that ill-conceived plan, though, according to documents obtained by TMZ, Neil and Jonathan say the band name is already licensed to another corporation known as Elmo, which was set up by former lead singer Steve Perry and Neil and Jonathan back in 1985. Bottom line, Russ and Steve are out in the cold. They don't get shit as far as making money off the band's name, and now they've got this lawsuit on their hands, so they're getting sued for breach of fiduciary duty. Neil and Jonathan, who co-wrote most of the band's huge hits with Perry, also want damages of at least $10 million. So the rich continue to get richer for Journey. They're scheduled to tour this summer with the Pretenders, So there will be a new drummer and a bass player on stage if you're going. So there will be open auditions, and you know that, hell, a big melting pot. You got the Filipino lead singer. We need a dude from Kenya on the drums, and maybe an Irishman on bass. Unbelievable. No desire to see them. There's a lot of people that go to those concerts that have, hey, let's go see a Foghat. And it's all guys in their 20s. And one dude is like 94 years old, and he's the drummer. And they surround him with cymbals so you can't see his face. You'll see an occasional, hand go up with the drumstick. Yeah, we are Foghat. In fact, the lead singer of the band Foghat, it's just coincidence that they popped into my mind. I think it's the same dude who's actually here. He's from here in Grand Rapids. I ran into him on an airplane one time, and I think his name is Charlie. He's like, hey, man, how are you? How's Foghat doing? He's like 19. My God. Coming up next, we need to talk about it's a made-for-TV stunt this week that I didn't really get into. It fell flat as usual. Fell flat probably isn't the best set of words for it. But Nick Wallenda.
Come on down.
He is from the family of the famous Wallendas. Every single member of the family walks on a tightrope. I mean, literally, that's what they do for a living. This jerk was at it again. If you watched it, you fell for it. I'll explain in just a second. This show's not possible without the sponsors. And if I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that it's important that you engage the sponsors and try not to buzz through them on the audio podcast. If you do listen to the on-demand audio podcast, I would appreciate it if you stay with me, because you never know when something funny is going to happen, first of all. Second of all, if the sponsors aren't there, there is no podcast. I am fortunate, very, very fortunate, that this is my job. I can do this for a living, and it's my primary source of keeping the lights on. If the sponsors weren't there, it would not happen. So I continue to bang that drum constantly, and you have been a terrifically awesome, impassioned bunch when it comes to engaging them. So thank you in advance. Joe Martinez is one of the beneficiaries of that. He's just like you and I, working hard, and he did it all on his own. I encourage anybody to do just that. It's scary, but you can do it. Joe did that. Similar to me, I was in radio and was kind of had to do what the boss said, and finally it was determined that I don't play well with the boss, so you're out. What to do? Joe was like, I'm not like Eric. I play well with the boss, but I think I can do a better job on my own. Thus, A&E Heating and Cooling was born. 616-516-8579. You can get a humidifier for $515. If you're a non-Zane Show listener, that's $615. Just mention me. Get a furnace installed. That humidifier is free. You got a 15% discount for active and retired military and senior citizens. For everything. 616-516-8579. All sponsors are available on my website, too. Just click on the appropriate picture in the sponsor scroll. Like Ryan Hamilton. His beautiful face is in the lower sponsor scroll. He's a great comedian. He's appearing March 28th. That's a Saturday at Mount Clemens, Michigan's Emerald Theater. That's where Peter Lucido, he might be there, hitting on chicks in Mount Clemens at the Emerald Theater. Ryan Hamilton Live, check him out. And finally, Terrytown RV. They're on Division in West Michigan between 68th Street and 76th Street. Enormous campus of rows and rows and rows of travel trailers, fifth wheels, and motor homes. Big, small, cheap, expensive, all of them fun. Get into one for $180 a month. That's right. Your car can tow it. Sit down with them. Go look at the selection. Do the math. And then, you know what? Leave. Go home. Think about it. Call back the next day and say we're in. It takes time. Take your time. But do look. Boy, is it fun to look. Will you invite me? I would love to meet you there. Eric at ericzaneshow.com. I want to look at the campers and RVs with you. You're going to have fun. Buy one, or at least go, and mention that you are there because of me. They like to hear that because then they know the advertising works. That's how it goes. Thank you to Terrytown RV, online at terrytownrv.com. All right, so the Wallendas, the family known for acrobatics and walking on tight ropes and all sorts of crazy shit. Now, this is risky business, as you would guess, walking on a tightrope without a net. So you would think. I'll get to the problem I have with this walking on a tightrope in these made-for-TV things. Because it's not all that dangerous these days. Well, Zane, he walked over a volcano like 1,800 feet. He had to wear a gas mask because of all the noxious stuff that was flying up as he's walking across that volcano. Hang tight. I'll get to that in a second. Grandpa Wallenda, 1972. He's in Puerto Rico. He's going to walk across two giant apartment complexes. They're like 20 stories tall. He's got the line between the two. He's going to go like across the street. They're on either sides of this busy street. Grandpa Wallenda, 1972, has the long pole, and he's walking across. And before he gets started, he says, I want that video camera on me. So you got some dude, 1972, with a big, giant camera, you know, and all the Puerto Ricans are looking at him from the street. And so this video exists. Now, I'm hoping you use some caution when you watch it, because it's one of the most terrible things that's ever been caught on video. It doesn't go well. And I'll link it up in the show notes, and it will be on the In the News portion of ericzaneshow.com. Grandpa Wallenda, Nick wasn't even born yet, the guy who did the volcano trick. Grandpa Wallenda, you see him walking, and then he's kind of like tippy and a little shaky because there's some winds that are really whipping up. And he's like, uh-oh. Now I was reading that the grandson, Nick, he has said that he has enough strength that if he has to grab the line, he can hang there for 20 minutes. And that is more than enough time to get the help there to rescue you. Unfortunately, Grandpa Wallenda didn't have that type of ability. Grandpa Wallenda was great at walking across the line. Not so great at hanging on. And he was old, too, at the time. Grandpa Wallenda, well, he started to get all wobbly, and he kind of bent his knees to grab the line. And then you see him kind of like slip, and, you know, he's going to hang, right? Nope. His grip breaks. Grandpa is done. He falls, and all these people are on the street. You don't actually see this next moment, so your brain will fill in the blanks. But you see everybody scatter because he's going to hit people. He hits a cab. Oh, my God. This is like one of those scenes in the movie RoboCop when he throws the guy out of the window. Ah! Boom.
Come on down.
Yeah. Grandpa hits the cab, and they rush over to help him, but it's too late, man. He's done. Horrible. Nick, though, has done this stunt before, and it's a little stupid to me. Years ago, he was doing another one of these. I forget which one. And then at the very last minute, when he was building up the hype for it, and I think that the the Wallenda family is more like showmen in terms of height. They're like Evel Knievel than they are the actual stunt. Because just before the one of the previous ones he did years ago, he said, well, Fox TV has said that I must be tethered. So what that means is he's got like this device attached to him, attached to another line. Yeah, they don't want me to follow my death on TV. And that, to me, eliminates any desire to want to see this when this happened years ago. So I didn't fall for it this week. There's all this buildup. Oh, Nick Wallenda, here he goes. You know what he's walking over this time? A volcano. And he was in more danger from the fumes than he was actually walking on the tightrope. Because at the last minute, he says, yep, we just heard from ABC TV. They want me to be tethered. So they don't really talk about it, but you can see him. He's walking. He's got a line going from his waist to this device that's on another line, and which is next to him, and it was all set up in advance. He knew he had to be tethered. There was no way they would just wait to the last second and say, you got to be tethered. I mean, I understand, but to me, it takes there's who wants to watch this? Who wants to watch a guy go for a walk? No one. To me, his wife was doing acrobatics beforehand. She was also tethered above it, and that was actually seemed to be more of a challenge than doing the dumb walk. This all happened in Nicaragua. It's the longest and highest high wire walk he's ever done, according to Dick Clark Productions. 7th generation of his family to perform daredevil stunts. Grandpa was in heaven. He's like, I'm not even going to watch this shit. Unless there's a possibility that you can fall into the volcano. I mean, yeah, like that's really going to happen. Grandpa's like, I am so not impressed. Wallenda bluntly told Reuters before the walk, I could fall to my death. But then Wallenda's extensive experience and a last resort safety feature required by the network prevented Wallenda from doing just that. I would say that it wasn't his expertise. I would say it was the fact that he's going for a walk with a harness. It isn't like this guy has had bad things happen to him. There was a one thing that happened in a 2017 rehearsal. He and 7 other acrobats were practicing an 8-person pyramid. Now we're talking. For a circus in Sarasota, Florida. When the stunt went wrong, 5 of the performers fell 30 feet to the ground. 3 of them suffered broken bones. Wallenda's sister, Liana, her face broke her fall. She broke, they said, every bone in her face. All right, now that's what we're talking about. That's the danger we need for the Wallendas to be anything that anybody cares about. No one was killed. So there you go. I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. You can't be selling me one bill of goods and then switching it out at the last second. Otherwise, who cares? I guess what that means is you're out of business because, I mean, none of these people have the stones to do this stuff without a tether. I'm not even buying that the network had anything to do with it. I'm surprised that it didn't go like this. Well, the network, the network has said that I can't walk on a tightrope. I actually have a giant footbridge. So basically, it's just Nick Wallenda going for a walk on a footbridge over the volcano. Don't fall for that shit. Speaking of walking, I did see a video that I will link up. Thank you to Dean for sending this along to me, and I have to throw the reminder out there, as always, that if you have a story that you think that I should be talking about in the podcast, do send it to me, eric@ericzaneshow.com. I don't use all of them. Don't be butthurt if I don't use it. But I am entirely dependent. I'm a 100% dependent on you show. For your patronage of the sponsors, for the Patreon, for your time watching the freebie, for the stories that I talk about. Yes, I can look them up, and I do. I do have several that I looked up, like the Wallenda one. I did that on my own. But Peter Lucido, that credit goes to Bleeding Heart Brian. Journey's Story, that goes to Bleeding Heart Brian. Dog Walker goes to Boring Dean. And so, I forgot who sent me the Florida Treasure story. I'll get to that in a second. This one happens in Australia. Man, I would love to have this happen. This is the second story I've seen like this. I saw one where a guy was running out of a Walmart. Not affiliated with this. But bad guys running out, and Hillbilly... Oh, what do you know you're on camera? Yeah, I know. Oh, my God, I thought you were in your underwear. You just scared the shit out of me. Come here a minute. Come here a minute. I want to see your leg. Hold on, I gotta get Benny out of here. Jacqueline just walked in the room. Scared the fuck out of me. Did you see me? I went, oh! I thought someone was sneaking up on me. I was going to grab my pistol. You see me go like this. Draw. Come sit. So they took the cast off. And you can't stretch it? Or you can't bend it? I can. Does it hurt? Sore. Yeah? Yes. So what happens now? It still looks swollen. It is a little. Yeah? What is the next step? Do you have to go to like rehab? Well, I'm supposed to, but I don't know if I can. Oh, yeah, the cost of that. How many rehab do you need? Oh, God. We'll cross that bridge later. Yeah. We'll talk about it when I get done with this. When? Huh? You went poop? Yeah. It's the first time since Monday? Yeah. Congratulations. How big was it? Real big. The cast came off and it was time. Yeah, at the doctor's, at the clinic? No. Here? Yeah. Oh my God. What? How many flushes? One. Okay. When does he want you to start the rehab? Now. Like right now? Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you in a second. Yes, you're going to have to, so you're going to need to schedule that. Okay. Okay. I'm going to sleep. Okay, bye. Come on, Daisy. Daisy, come on. Why didn't you close the door behind you? Take the dog. I want her to come with me. Rudy, come here. Over there. Jacqueline making an appearance. Sorry about this. Well, you scared the hell out of me. Dude's walking out of Walmart. Bad guys shoplifting. Dude walking out of Walmart, pushing his cart, realizes that there's a couple of security guards in hot pursuit to catch the guy. Or they were cops, actually. And the dude just takes his cart and pushes it at the exact right moment. And dude who's running out of the store with the stolen goods hits that shopping cart and goes flying. It was fantastic. And then the cops show up, slap the cuffs on him. He's done. This scenario was like this. It's a minute and a half of footage. And you get it all from a helicopter. And what you got here is cops are trying to break the window of a car that has been stolen. Bad guys driving the car. Cops in Australia are trying to break the glass. The car is parked on the side of the street, and there's a parked vehicle in front of it and behind it. Bad guy puts it in reverse, bashes the car behind him as hard as he can, and then takes off. Driving on the grass, wrong side of the road, going through the roundabouts, high speed, honking, lights flashing. Cops, are getting into their car, but they're already way behind the guy. Don't know what to do. Helicopters following the car. Dude ends up getting to a point where he can go no further in the car, puts it in park, opens the car door, and he's running. You see as he's going over a footbridge, there's a guy walking a dog. And the dude walking the dog realizes what's going on, and he engages the dude and body slams his ass, tackles him. The dog is acting like O'Neill would do and just kind of looking at him like, oh, someone's playing. And so the dog's not doing anything. I would have loved the guy to say sick balls and to actually bite the guy. He, though, is a dude who's formidable, the guy walking the dog, and he puts the dude's arms behind him, and he's just got his knee in the dude's back and the guy's face down. I mean, he made quick work of him. It was terrific. And then the first cop on foot shows up on the scene and starts to take care of the guy. And then the cop the Good Samaritan is standing next to the cop just watching while cop number 2 is getting close. Good Samaritan says, my work is done here. Starts to walk. Now he's walking on the bridge towards cop number 2. As cop number 2 is passing dude, they stick out their hands and slap 5, like tag team in pro wrestling. Like, good job. He slaps 5 with the dude. And then the cop number 2 shows up. Bad guy is caught. It was awesome. I will link that up for you. You must see it. There's no sound to the video, but it's just what I described to you. It's that cool. I want to be that guy one day, but you know me. I would be with the dog, and then as soon as I went, I'm going to make my move, the guy would, like, punch me 5 times in the stomach, break my teeth, break my nose, throw me over the side of the bridge, and then O'Neill would run away, and I'd never see him again. All right, if you're like me, you see people with a metal detector on the beach, wherever, scanning the ground with a pair of headphones on, and you're like, I want to do that. And, hell, I was just over at my dad's not long ago, and he's got one. I want to borrow it. I want the metal detector. It seems awesome to me, and it isn't so much that I want to look for hidden treasure or anything like that. I just think it would be fun to, like, that thing goes off, and then you dig and you find something in the ground, even if it's a shell casing. I'd probably get bored of that really quick, but yeah, maybe hoping in the back of my mind that I would find some treasure. There is a spot in Florida, I think it's called Treasure Coast or Gold Coast or something like that, where it is called that because the rumor is that there was a number of shipwrecks that happened just off of this coast. And they were loaded down with, they were European vessels way back, like hundreds of years ago, loaded with treasure. So this is like the spot where the dudes go. I got a story about this exact thing happening coming up in just a second. As you know, Horizon Hydroponics, they started with me in the BBL days. I was fortunate enough to get them back here on this podcast. Thank you to Bridget and John. 4 locations for Horizon Hydroponics: Kalamazoo, Lansing, on Alpine and Grand Rapids, and the Growers Outlet in Byron Center, Michigan. Not far from, it's near Grand Rapids. Everything you need for your budding hydroponics, indoor growing minus the soil projects. Now, ultimately, once those things get budding, yeah, you can throw those awesome you're going to throw those awesome plants in the soil, and they're going to grow big and strong and healthy with enormous buds as your light beams in, and you got your awesome tent, and you got your pH tester and your fertilizers and your, so much wisdom and knowledge from the folks at Horizon Hydroponics for whatever you are growing. I don't care if you're growing a salad. You can do it with all of the expertise and power behind you of Horizon Hydroponics. Or if you're a little bit more adventurous and you're growing the biggest, best, most adventurous buds that you can possibly find. Bulbous, huge, ready for you to harvest in all of their cannabis glory. That's what Horizon Hydroponics specializes in. Their website is horizonhydroponics.com, and make sure you spell it right. Horizon, Horizen, hydroponics.com. Their number is 866-791-1664. Blue Frost IT is back in business. They're back with me for another 3 months, thanks to them. The managed IT service provider for the show, and I want them to be the managed IT service provider for your business. Whether you own the business or whether you work for the man at the business, keep in mind that if your IT goes kablooey, you need Blue Frost IT. I suggest once a month you get a tune-up from them on a monthly plan with them, 616-200-8550 for Blue Frost IT, online at bluefrostit.com. Blue, FROST, IT.com. All right. So Eric's got his metal detector. He's walking along. He's scanning the ground of Grayling, Michigan, and he finds a treasure. Probably not the case in Grayling, Michigan, but this spot in Florida, absolutely.
This morning, who made an amazing discovery along Florida's Treasure Coast, and that coast lived up to its name. Last month, 2 treasure hunters, Florida men, using metal detectors, discovered 22 Spanish coins on a beach believed to be from a shipwreck more than 300 years old. Wow. Silver coins estimated to be worth about $6,000 in all. Best part is they're going to be able to keep these coins, unlike what coins that if they found them in the ocean, you need a special permit for that. And believe it or not, sometimes the country of Spain will sue to get it back. Yeah. But because they found it on a public beach, they get to keep their find.
300 years.
Yeah, I know.
But they're only worth $6,000. I would think they'd be
Well,
worth
it's
a lot
silver. They didn't
more.
find the gold.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's a lot more out there. Apparently, there were 11 ships, galleons, sunk in a hurricane in 1715.
Wow. I'd be going back to that beach like every day.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good Florida man story.
It is a good Florida man story.
That's fantastic. I don't know what I would do. I would just lose my mind. And if you look at the coins, they're all like they don't look silver. They look whatever. There's whatever process makes it so they look dirty as hell, but they are silver. I was a little bit. I couldn't believe they were only worth six grand, being that they're that old. But silver, I guess. I don't know. I would assume that in their current form, they'll be able to sell them for much more than that to some museum or whatnot. But whenever you hear about stories about shipwrecks, oh, my God, we found a treasure chest full of, 3,000 pounds of coins from Jesus' day. Shit, man, if I found that out, I would never, ever tell a soul. Just keep that shit, and then, I don't know, maybe after a little bit of time, then maybe work on pawning it off or something like that. That is exciting. I want a metal detector. If you have one of these, is this more than it's cracked up to be, or am I just like, am I just being stupid about this? It sounds like a real old man thing to do. I need to have my socks pulled up, jean shorts, maybe a fanny pack, some of those glasses that wrap around your face, and then I'll end up wandering away and getting lost. That's my future. All right. It's a big weekend for you. Of course, it's going to be warm where we live. We're looking at 50s and 60s by where I live. And I'm like, oh, my God, here we go. Time to clean up the dog poop. Whatever it is you do, I hope you are safe. I hope to see a few of you at the game tonight. I don't know what to expect, but I think it's going to be fantastic for the West Michigan Ironmen. I posted a link, by the way, and I should have mentioned this, on my Facebook. I did it wrong earlier in the day yesterday, but because I used a link shortener, but I did fix it. I deleted the Twitter post because I'm an idiot. But on Facebook, there's a link exclusive to Zane Show listeners. If you want to go to the West Michigan Ironman game, tickets with this link are only $10 a piece on Facebook, and I'll link it up here in the podcast on the show notes. You click on that link, and there's a code. The code is The Eric Zane Show. It must be The Eric Zane Show. That's your code. It's going to ask you for that when you click on it. You can get tickets for $10. And each week, for each home game, I will be doing the same thing. So here we go. Another adventure. This weekend, I'll have an update for you as to how that went. I'm sure there will be shenanigans, as they say, as part of that. You folks are great, as always. I got Patreon happening a little bit later on. Ron is going to be in here, too. I'll be posting my Talking Movies podcast with Ron Van Timmeren. As always, thank you so much. I'll be talking to you down the road. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.